Greetings of peace and love, everyone. I'm Djehuty. I'm here on behalf of dhealthstore.com, imparting information and knowledge. And in this particular video, I'm going to express my views about the Wesley Snipes tax case, from what I know of it. I forget the brother's name, but he was a member of the Nation of Islam, and he knew I was very deep into law. Still am, but not to the degree I was, 7, 8, 10 years ago. But anyway, he knew I was deep into the law, and he sent me Wesley's case, a copy of Wesley's file. And I looked at it, and I just got back to him. Was like, bro, it's a wrap. Nothing, nothing could be done to save Wesley because the damage had been done. Okay, the damage had been done. See, Wesley's case started in the late 1990s, overlapped into the 2000s, and the sovereignty movement picked up momentum in the 90s and then just took off in the early 2000s. Everybody named Mama was trying to be sovereign, even though 99.9% of the people really didn't know what the hell sovereignty meant, you know. And I thought I was into it, but I really realized that I was into freedom. And I would eventually learn that your freedom is not through sovereignty, a man-made concept, a legal political concept. You don't get free through something another man created. You don't get free through documents. You know what I'm saying? You don't get free through documents. Sending documents to the president, to the Secretary of State, to the Social Security Administration office. You don't get free like that. Sending letters to the DMV, you don't get free like that. That's a hustle there. There's a lot of cats selling these expatriation, repatriation packages, sovereignty packages, UCC filing packages. It's all a hustle. You don't need that for freedom, and that's something different. I teach about that in personal sovereignty. That's the only type of sovereignty I get down with, personal sovereignty, because it embraces spiritual sovereignty. It doesn't embrace legal political sovereignty, because that power is in the hand of other people who can pretty much do whatever the hell they want to do. And I'm talking about judges. So if your fate, your destiny is in the hand of judges, that means that your destiny, your fate is in the hands of someone else other than yourself, you see. And, that really doesn't jive when you understand that only you are responsible for shaping your destiny, your fate, okay? Only you're responsible for your enslavement. Only you can allow yourself to be enslaved, you see. That's something I learned along the way through, my personal studies and my own personal experience, I got free not because of documents, but because of using my mind, and going deeper and taking things to a metaphysical level. I realized we lost the right to travel in our automobiles, which have been converted to motor vehicles. We lost the right to travel because we gave up the right to travel on an astral plane, on an astral level. As above, so below. You know what I'm saying? So it just made sense to me, like, wow, the outer reflects the inner. We get robbed through taxes on the state and federal level because we rob ourselves. We don't really spend our money on ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves. We don't take our money and do the things that we want to do for ourselves. That money goes to bills, whether it's utility bills, whether it's cable bill, car bill, mortgage, what have you. And we feel robbed. We really feel robbed. You know what I'm saying? So we emit that energy out there, and that energy comes back in the form of the tax collector. So we rob ourselves. You see, we have an energy that we feel robbed, and having that energy, feeling that energy that we're robbed, we actually create, the manifestation of the physical act. So we do it. Your state board, like the Franchise Tax Board in California and Internal Revenue Service, They're just the manifestation of your feelings and your thoughts, but mostly your feelings that's emanated out into the universe. Okay, that's on us. It's personal sovereignty. Okay, your freedom is in your hand. Okay, your freedom is in your hand. Nobody else's hands but yours. Okay, same thing with slavery. Your enslavement is in your hands only. See, personal responsibility. Now, with my man Wesley, this is what I believe based upon everything that I witnessed. I remember a friend of mine shooting me an email of Wesley's W-2 for the year 2001 or 2002. Big no-no. Big no-no. See, what a lot of people didn't know is that when you went public with what you learned about the Internal Revenue Service and the tax laws, how it's not constitutional, you know, and other words that people use, that it's illegal, it's criminal, is, you know, all of that. Take your pick of words. When you go public and try to expose, as Dick Gregory will call them, thugs, you're asking for it. Okay, these people, they don't go by the law. They don't go by the Constitution. They don't, you know, because they don't have to. They've dumbed down enough American citizens to the point where they don't even know the Constitution, so they can do whatever the hell they want to do. See, so you try to go public and say, hey, this is a fraud, the tax system is illegal, or is, well, it's really not illegal. It's really legal, it's unlawful. And there's a difference between illegal and unlawful, okay? Which you could also say unconstitutional. The tax laws are, as applied today, are unconstitutional. Wesley made a big mistake in letting that go public because it was slapping the government in the face. And there are people out there who did the sovereign thing, but they was on the low pro. And if they did have a run-in with government, the case was civil. The government was like, listen, we're going to slap these penalties on you, you're going to pay this money, and it's going to be squashed. But man, if you was one of those cats out there and you had major influence, and you did some serious exposing, the government criminally prosecuted your behind. So you hear about people going to jail, you know, like old boy who wrote The Federal Tax Mafia, Schiff. I mean, which is a damn good book, man. I mean, a damn good, I mean, great information. But he had to be thrown in jail because, man, these people are not going to let their property go free. They're just not going to do it. So, and I done read all the books. I own all the books in my law library. The information is solid. The case law is solid. But they're not trying to hear that. As a matter of fact, in the United States Code, Title 28, what is it, Section 2201, 2202, whatever that section is pertaining to declaratory judgment, it's not applicable for tax law. A declaratory judgment in law is when you sue somebody to declare your rights. Well, the federal government allows you to petition for a declaratory judgment in just about everything, you know, on the land. You know what I'm saying? Anything pertaining to anything that could happen on the land, you know, child support, going up against the state, what have you, they will hear. They will allow you to file a, you know, petition for declaratory judgment. There's one exception, and that's taxes. They don't want to hear what your rights are pertaining to taxes. Out. Even though the United States Supreme Court and the federal courts have made serious rulings, landmark rulings on taxes, the constitutionality of taxes, even though it's there, it's on the books, it's established, they don't want to hear it. And that should really be telling you something. They don't want to hear it because they know. But it's their system. You gave it to them so they can do whatever the hell they want to do. I mean, you don't know your constitutional rights. I mean, how many people this one right here says the Declaration of Independence, but it's also a Constitution. This is the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. Now, I own about 7 or 8 constitutions, okay? Just like if you're a Christian, you own a Bible. Well, if you're an American citizen, you're supposed to own a Constitution. And I can tell you, the majority of American citizens do not own a Constitution. And the Cato Institute will send you a Constitution for free. I got my first Constitution for free from the Cato Institute. It came in the mail. I threw the first one away because back then I was an angry black man. I said the Constitution is like a wet food stamp. It ain't gonna work for me. I'm a black man, right? That's where I was. I was very disgruntled. And I was in or under victim consciousness. So I didn't feel that I had the power to direct the course of my life. I thought external forces had the power to direct. But that's where I was back then. And I threw it in the trash. 2 months later, another one came in the mail. And when it came that time, I was ready for it. That's just how my life has been. You know, it just came to me and I was ready for it and soaked it up. And I have been working wonders in the area of law with knowledge of the United States Constitution as well as my state constitution, the California Constitution, followed by the statutory law, all your codes, your civil codes, code of civil procedure, vehicle code, penal code. I live in those books, and I love reading those books. I know it sounds crazy to love reading law books, but it's a riddle, it's a maze. It's what got us enslaved, and I like studying stuff like that. That's the Mars and Gemini in me. I love that stuff. And that's what truly liberates you. You know what I'm saying? So when the police pull you over, you know, pull over to the side there, you know, they're on their, you know, the little walkie-talkie type speaker, right? Pull over to the side there, you know, and most people are like, oh, snap, and they get afraid and everything. And it's because of ignorance. That fear comes from ignorance. You are afraid of 5-0 because you're ignorant. But see, when you go out and buy the California Peace Officer Source Book and you read all that case law, all that stuff that they're supposed to do, and you learn what they're supposed to do and know it better than them, oh, things change. When you learn the vehicle code and these cats pull you over and want to issue a ticket, things change. When you learn that penal code, things change. When you learn the law, things change because the police is deluding you, okay? They're shamming you because they make you think that they are law enforcement officers. And they're not, because they don't know law. They really do not know law. They are code enforcement officers because all they're doing is enforcing the codes. And the codes are really not law. Now, I know you're probably saying, you know what, okay, enough with that legal stuff, Djehuty. Get to Wesley. Okay. Wesley messed up by letting his W-2 go viral on the internet. Big no-no. That's what led to him being prosecuted. But here are the moves that Wesley made that really messed him up, even before the government got on him. Wesley set up a company, Amin-Ra Production, and I give props to Wesley Snipes. You know, Wesley was one of the very few African-American actors who took it upon himself to become conscious, link himself with the grassroots, you know, hooked up with Dr. York and some other cats. I think he took Steve Muhammad of the Nation of Islam with him because Steve was training us at Mosque 27. Wesley comes on the scene, and Steve Muhammad leaves and go with Wesley, and I think Wesley went to Atlanta. So Wesley took it upon himself to become, you know, culturally conscious and put his money where his heart was. And so Wesley created Amin-Ra Films, Amin-Ra Production. It was actually the production company that produced the awesome documentary on the Honorable Dr. John Henry Clark. Wesley Snipes was behind that. Wesley Snipes was looking into purchasing land. He did purchase some land too in the Georgia area, but was just looking to purchase more land to train brothers in the martial arts. You know, creating somewhat of a vanguard. You know, which is going to raise some eyebrows with the government because you know, anytime you're a so-called minority and you're organizing, the government in their mind, their collective mind that is, they're always thinking that, okay, you must be planning to defend yourself against them. You know what I'm saying? They can do it. They can defend themselves against other countries, but you can't defend yourself against them. It's crazy. And I'm not even saying Wesley was doing that, but that's just the mentality, the mindset, the collective mindset of government, state and federal, local as well too. So Wesley was doing some things, right? And so Wesley met these two cats out of California who hipped him to the sovereign game. These guys, I don't want to say they talked Wesley into these actions, but it came to Wesley's attention that Almond Raw Production was a corporation. And by law, a corporation has to pay taxes. It is a creature of the state. That's Hale versus Hinkle. You can look that case up. It's still on the law books. It's a creature of the state. The state can own it because the state created it, even though you set it up. But, you know, when you send your documents to the Secretary of State's office, you know, for the articles of incorporation, you've turned it over to the state. Like you turned over just about everything else to the state. When you register your car with the state, you turn it over to the state. Look up the word register in Black's Law Dictionary. Register means to convey property over to another. I mean, people, these people are good, man. I mean, these people who rule us, I mean, these thugs are good. I mean, they created a hell of a system, man. I mean, you really got to take your hat off to them. It's sinister, it's diabolical, it's insidious, but it's good. I mean, because they have made us turn over our children. We have turned over our automobiles. We have turned over our property. And I still have the documentation in my office, even when you register to vote. Look up that word register in Black's Law Dictionary. If the word register means to transfer property over to another, to convey property over to another, and you have to register to vote, what property is being conveyed or transferred over to another in order for you to vote? Okay? If you have to register your automobile with the DMV, and register means to transfer property over to another, what are you doing when you register your car with your state Department of Motor Vehicles? Think about it. All colleges, federal government, just like all banks, federal government. Okay? So when you have to register for school, what property, you tell me what property is being transferred over to another? That's something to think about. You got some homework now. I'm not going to give it up in this video because I need to make my point on Wesley and then bounce and cover some other stuff. Okay? So Wesley attempted to take a corporation and make it sovereign. Big no-no. No, you don't do that. If anything, you dissolve that corporation and you set it up the right way from the beginning. You got to set it up from the right way from the beginning. Okay? Wesley was supposed to dissolve Almond Raw Films or Almond Raw Production, dissolve it, and then set it up again as a common law private business. Wesley didn't do that, you see. So Wesley started making moves. Okay, we're not going to pay taxes. We got the law backing us up here, you know. And Wesley tells his staff that, listen, I'm not withholding no more taxes from your checks, you know. And Wesley had this African-American female. I mean, that's who did him in. I hate to really say it like that because, you know, I don't want people to think that, uh-oh, this is a video and the black woman is to blame. It's just incidental. It's just really incidental. Because everybody else was on board except for this one black woman, this one African-American female who could not fathom for the life of her that taxes were unconstitutional. Even though Wesley flew his staff out from Almond Raw Films, I think it was located in New York. Don't quote me on it. But it was back east. It wasn't in California. I know that for sure. And Wesley flew them out to California, went to Marina Del Rey, and one of the guys who were his advisors gave like a 2 or 3 hour presentation with case law, the Constitution, showing Wesley's staff. And I think that was a broad, bold move by Wesley to fly his whole staff out there and educate his staff. That was a powerful move right there. You don't really get that from CEOs. That says a lot about Wesley too. And with all that information, man, school can really screw a lot of people up, man. It's certain people in the world, and I know because I work with certain people like that, even in like my businesses and stuff. It's just certain people that went to college. They don't need to be around people who are free thinkers, who are entrepreneurs. They really need to be slaves on a corporate gig. I really mean that, because if not, they hurt themselves and they hurt you. Slaves need to be where slaves are comfortable, and then people who enter to freedom and independent thought, they need to be to themselves so that they can do them things. But you don't want to mix the two. Wesley had a female. She couldn't fathom it. She could not fathom it. And despite all that information that those legal advisors presented to those employees of Almond Raw Films or production, she was the only one. She just couldn't get it. And she wanted to pay taxes. Out of all those employees, she said, I want to pay tax. I have a duty. Everybody else was like, whoa, it's unconstitutional? And it's 40% of my salary and I can keep it? Oh, I'm sold. I'm sold, Wesley. Because I just got a 40% pay raise. That's what everybody would pretty much have if they wasn't paying taxes. When the government gets through with most people, they're taxed about 40% of their wages, of their labor. 40%, It's the equivalent of working from January 1st to May 23rd for the government. That's the equivalent of what Americans pay in taxes. It's like almost working half the year for free. Or I shouldn't say for free, but working for the government. Well, that is for free. It's pretty much like 5.5 months to 6 months working for your government. That's what it's like. This particular female hires a CPA firm. And she tells the CPA firm that she works for Wesley, Almond Raw, and that they don't pay taxes. She's there because she wants to pay taxes, but this corporation doesn't. It's Wesley Snipes, well-known actor. CPA Cat calls the IRS. They start looking into Wesley's affairs. That's where the indictment came from. This is the female who Wesley purchased a Mercedes-Benz for, gave money to. Wesley took care of this woman. And it's amazing, man. It's just amazing what she would do to him, all because of disbelief. Now, if it was me, I would have let her go. I would have given her a severance package. I would have paid her like for a whole year. I don't care. Just get the hell out of here. Here's enough money for you to live until you can find you a corporate job. I don't know why Wesley didn't do that. Because when you know somebody can be trouble, you got to do your part to maneuver them out the door. Because it's not worth it. Wesley didn't do that. And Wesley caught a case. Wesley had that W-2 circulating out there. And I remember it showed that Wesley made $10 million. And the argument was he had no income. Because income is gain severed from capital. And I know most people don't really understand that, income. We pay income taxes. Well, if you do the research, you find out that income means gain severed from capital. That means profit. Okay, so, if you start a business with $10,000, and at the end of the year you made $25,000, okay, the gain severed from the capital is $15,000. Okay, gain severed from capital. $10,000 in capital, you made 25, so the gain was 15,000. That 15,000 is income. It can be taxed. But when you work a job, right? You don't get profit. You don't get paid profit every 2 weeks. You only get paid profit unless you're the owner. But as an employee, and I got another video coming on for you guys on what employee really means in law. Okay. But when you're an employee, you get wages or salary or compensation. And the United States Supreme Court has ruled in a few landmark cases that wages, salary, and compensation for labor is not income. And it's not, because you don't get paid profits. Only the boss does, the owner does. You get paid salary or wages, and that's not income. But you're still being taxed to this very day on your wages, on your salary, on your compensation for labor, because you're ignorant, you don't know the tax law, you don't want no trouble, so you just sign on the dotted line, you sign the contract, which is an adhesion contract, which is really a nudum pactum contract. Just go look up nudum pactum. So you got some homework to do, see. But that's what's going on with most people. And most people, oh, well, we have to support the government. If we don't pay taxes, the government will shut down. This is a retard talking here. Because if you go do the research, the United States government ran itself, and successfully so, before there was ever an Internal Revenue Service, before there was ever a first bank or second bank in the United States of America, which today is the Federal Reserve Bank. Go back and study the history. This country ran wonderfully without a central bank, without taxation. And that's documented. That's facts. That's history. Go do the research. This country thrived without collecting taxes from its citizens. But we're no longer citizens in that respect. We're hoes. Only thing is we don't know it because the government don't send us a free keg of Vaseline so we can go grease our rectums and, you know, grab our ankles, or grease ourselves and then grab our ankles and just wait till Sam comes in there and serve us. That's why we don't know. Because the government does not send us a free keg of Vaseline and a free pair of high heel shoes and a free purse. So we don't know. So Wesley, he's a Leo too. He was out there shining, gloating. I don't pay taxes. He's trying to slap Uncle Sam in the public. Wesley, you got a lot of influence, man. They're not going to let you do that. They have to bring you down to set an example for the rest of the sheep. You're just a rich sheep, but they had to set an example to the rest of the sheep. If you do what this cat did, you gonna get the same type of consequence. You're behind going to jail too. So don't you do what Mr. Wesley Snipes did. They're gonna do it all the time. Same thing with Lynn Meredith. And I'm doing a video on her as well too. You're going down. And it's not so much that you're wrong, but these people got an agenda, man. They got an agenda. And they are going to enforce that agenda by any means necessary. That's just how they get down. That's why they empower. They're willing to do whatever it takes to implement their agenda. And the American people are not willing to do whatever to get free. Like you and I went to the public food system and they told us that the American Revolution was started over 1% tax on tea. Imagine that. A whole damn revolution because of a 1% tax on tea? And these people fought the great British Empire, won, and came up with this wonderful, beautiful nation? All over 1% tax on tea? Now, wait a minute, folks. Think about this. How is it that you can have 200 plus something years ago, you can have a revolution on 1% tax, not on labor, not on wages, but on tea? These people had a revolution and ended up with a nation because they fought over 1% tax on tea. So we were taught in the public food system. But then today, you taxed 40% of your wages of your labor and no revolution. How you gonna fight for 1% tax increase on tea and you won't fight for a 40% tax on your labor? See, for a person like me, that's a sign that we have been seriously dumbed down. So this lady turns evidence on Wesley, along with the CPA. The IRS indicts him, and he's prosecuted. It took a while, but they started the prosecution, and they found Wesley guilty, at least of the 3 misdemeanors. They could have found him guilty of a couple of felonies. but they found him guilty of 3 misdemeanors, which he got 1 year each for, and now is serving federal time, 3 years. Wesley made some mistakes. I seen the file. He should have dissolved the corporation and just set up a new company, a private law, common law private business. He should have set it up the right way. If you got a corporation, people, you can't do that sovereign stuff. Go do the research. Your corporation belongs to the state. If you don't pay, they will take your corporation away. You don't pay your registration, they will take your car away. You like your car, yeah, right, your car, their car. Ain't that some? That's really something for you. Look, you buy a car, maintain it, put gas in it, but the state owns it because you turned it over to them. It's their car, and they're making you maintain it. That is crazy. It's crazy. So. But anyway, that's what happened with Wesley. You know, Wesley did not dissolve his corporation. He did not lay off this one particular employee, which he should have laid off and gave her a severance package to keep her quiet and happy. It wasn't going to take much. You know, get her hair done for a whole year, get her fingernails done, massage, cruise. Just get rid of her. It wasn't worth being in jail losing, you know, your company. Also, W-2 over the internet. Big mistake, man. You made $10 million. And then you claiming that, you know, zero income. And what really killed the situation is your boys, your advisors, greedy people. Most people who go down are greedy. These fools filed a damn tax return. If you out the system, what the hell are you doing filing tax return? Just be happy you're out. But no, you got to try and get some. You got to try and flip the script on these criminals, these thugs, and get something. The simple fact that you got away, that you got out of the system, and you didn't have to pay income taxes, that wasn't enough for you. You tried to do to the system what the system was doing to you, and that's just the wrong attitude to have. And that's why Wesley is serving time. And it really wasn't Wesley, because Wesley was just a student. It was his legal advisor. 2 radical cats who are also in jail, too. See? And, you know, I don't want to scare anybody from studying, you know, sovereignty, what have you, but I just got to tell you the facts. You know, you got to really do your homework, because if not, you'll end up like Wesley. Wesley did not properly dissolve his corporation. He did not lay off an employee who should have been laid off. He let his W-2 go viral on the internet. Big no-no. Big no-no. And the biggest no-no of all, he tried to get something for nothing. He tried to file a tax return. Messed up. Those 4 things is what sunk actor Wesley Snipes.